Welcome back, listeners around the world, and to our good friends in the cosmos. I'm your host, Ghostman Sean Burris, the best in the Midwest, broadcasting from the crossroads of America. This is your place for the strange, the Shadow Nation. Hey, listen, guys. As the moon rises high in the night sky, casting a silver glow over the landscape, I'm inviting you to join me. To join me on a journey into the wilderness of Kentucky and beyond. Werewolves, the half-man, half-beast creatures, have haunted the imagination of countless generations, from the foggy backwoods of the Bluegrass State to the expansive forest of New England. The werewolf legend has deep roots in American folklore. So grab your flashlights and silver bullets, because tonight we sink our teeth into the topic of werewolves in America.
We're going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
Stop this. A UFO.
Now let's take a closer look at the werewolf legend. The term werewolf comes from the Old English were, meaning man, and the wolf, meaning wolf. They've been part of the European mythology for centuries, often depicted as humans cursed to transform into wolves during the full moon. But what about the American version of this legend? The werewolf mythos made its way to America with European settlers in the 17th and 18th centuries. In fact, one of the earliest sightings of a werewolf in the U.S. occurred in 1640, when a man named J.W. was accused of being a werewolf in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. He was said to have transformed into a wolf-like creature and terrorized local livestock. However, it wasn't until the 19th century that the werewolf legend truly took root in American culture. One of the most infamous werewolf stories comes from the Appalachian region, where the rugged landscape and dense forest provide the perfect backdrop for tales of the supernatural. Kentucky, in particular, has its share of chilling werewolf encounters. One notable case is that of the Beast of LBL, or the Land Between the Lakes. This creature, spotted in 1970, was described as a hulking wolf-like figure that roamed the woods and struck fear into the hearts of locals. Witnesses report seeing the creature on numerous occasions, often describing it as standing on two legs with glowing yellow eyes and a menacing howl. Some even claimed it was responsible for disappearances of pets, livestock in the area. The lore surrounding the Beast of LBL grew with rumors swirling about its origins. Some locals believed it to be a werewolf, while others thought it could be a supernatural entity. Perhaps the skinwalker, or some other shape-shifting creature. It is said to resemble a gigantic half-man, half-wolf that walks on two legs and has five-fingered human hands, ending in vicious claws. The creature is said to stand over 7 feet tall, with massive, crushing jaws and glowing eyes. Legend speaks of a man who left Europe in the 1800s to settle between the rivers. This man supposedly possessed a disease that turned him mad after nightfall. The disease was believed to be genetic and was passed from parent to child over the years. The man's family remained in seclusion, never going to school or having the desire to socialize with others, until one day when they went silent. Many believed that the family had died. An investigation in the early 1900s revealed that their homestead was vacant and abandoned. Early accounts from French explorers and traders in the region speak about being warned of a shadowy presence of a loup-garou by the Shawnee fur traders. A later legend claims that the monster is the spirit of a shape-shifting Shawnee shaman who was killed in wolf form by the inhabitants of his village for abusing his powers. His spirit is said to still walk the woods in search of revenge. Accounts of the creature from the early days of American expansion into Kentucky tell of hunters disappearing in the woods and a strange, unnatural howls that echoed through the forest at night. At this time, bison still roam wild in Kentucky. And hunters would sometimes encounter mutilated carcasses of these massive animals lying half eaten in the deep grass, their throats ripped open by massive claws. Even now, with the efforts to restore the bison to Kentucky, the rangers and herd managers occasionally find calves missing. After one of the young goes missing, the herd is reportedly spooked for days, sticking together in the close formation that the animals used to protect themselves from predators. There have been several reports of close encounters with the creature in modern times. One of the most frightening of these happening to a group of Murray State University students who were camping in the land between the lakes in 1973. A group of young men were enjoying the woods on a warm spring weekend, sitting around a fire built right beside their VW microbus, and just generally having a fine time. As the evening began drawing in, one of the students went off into the woods to answer the call of nature. When he returned to the campsite, he told his friends that he'd felt like something was watching him and that he had heard something sniffing around in the woods. His friends said that he'd just heard a wild hog or something. The student said he had never heard anything like it before, and he grew increasingly nervous as the darkness gathered. As the night grew darker, the group started to hear shuffling in the woods. It seemed to be circling their campsite, moving incredibly swiftly. The boys began to become anxious. They shined their flashlights into the woods in the direction of the footsteps, but saw nothing. And then the howling began. It was a wild, insane howling, like a wolf, only much louder than any wolf could ever be, and with an unnatural, blood-curdling quality that made the howling sound almost like mocking laughter. It seemed to come from everywhere around them. First one side of the circle of the light around the fire, and then from the other side. Soon the terrified campers began to catch glimpses of a pair of glowing red eyes. The terrified boys retreated into their Volkswagen bus and wisely decided not to stick around to get a better view. Tearing down the road, they soon saw that they were being pursued, and that a massive, shadowy figure was racing behind them, barely visible in the bus's taillight. As the bus slowed to take a corner, they felt a massive jolt, and then it seemed as if something was holding the Volkswagen back. Giving it everything, they broke free and tore out of the forest, and didn't stop until they were back at Murray State Campus. They found 4 deep gashes, like claws, on the back of the VW. It was torn into the metal of the engine compartment. Another widely circulated story tells of a discovery of a bloody scene inside the motorhome of a family camping in the area in the 1980s. Police are said to have found the horribly mutilated bodies of a visiting family lying in their blood-soaked motorhome, and the half-eaten body of the family's younger daughter, lodged in a nearby tree. The bodies were all said to have had distinctive massive claw marks. This incident was supposedly covered up by the authorities so as not to damage the tourist industry in that area. An alleged photo of the beast, evidence for and encounters with the beast between the lakes continue to this very day. Experienced hunters shy away from this area, but those sportsmen who are new enough to the area to scoff at the legends often come home with tales of feeling as if they're being stalked in the woods. Deep holes, like nests, are often found dug in the woods, with tufts of long, coarsely textured grayish-brown fur found within them. Rangers in the park are routinely asked what the strange howling was that a camper heard during the night. One witness stated on a Monster Chat page, "I live in western Kentucky, 30 minutes from the LBL. I have tried hunting this thing more than once. It was Moss Creek where the family was butchered by this thing. That's when they put up a gate there and banned overnight camping, and it closes down at sunset. The excuse they gave at the time to preserve tourism is that there was a random stabbing one night. 2 cops talked to a girl at a well-known gas station, and they told her about what they saw. No bodies or body parts, but shredded bloody clothes on the ground and in some trees, blood everywhere. The girl told me this personally, and I will leave it at that. This happened in the late 80s. I have talked to old timers in Grand Rivers, Cadiz. They all basically say the same thing, that it's real. Some wouldn't talk to me at all. I'll stop the ramble, but I'd be glad to discuss it with you. Another person later posted, pertaining to the quoted text above, that girl was my mother, the late Jeanette Thompson. The story titled The Beast of LBL, as written and told by Jeanette Thompson, is the original telling of many encounters with this creature in and around the Land Between the Lakes State Park. The artist rendering above, as drawn by Bart Noonley, was created based on my mother's description of the creature she encountered many years ago. Her story is also featured in Bart Noonley's documentary film titled Hunt the Dogman in 2007. In the film, she is interviewed on her personal encounters and discusses the quoted text above. As her only son, it is my personal obligation to keep her legacy alive and to ensure that she is properly credited when credit is due. The legend of werewolves doesn't end there. In fact, similar sightings have been reported across the United States, from the swamps of Louisiana to the forest of Wisconsin. Take the infamous Dogman. You guys have heard of this. From Michigan. This creature is described as a tall wolf-like being that walks on two legs and has been spotted ever since the 1880s. The Dogman has become a part of local folklore, inspiring countless stories and even songs. It's fascinating to note that many of these werewolf legends often coincide with reports of mysterious disappearances or strange occurrences in the rural areas. Some folklore suggests that these stories arose as a way to explain the unexplainable, like the sudden loss of livestock or the eerie sounds that echo through the night. Werewolves, in a sense, became scapegoats for the fears and uncertainties of rural life. Now, let's take a moment to explore some interesting facts about werewolves in popular culture. The first cinematic portrayal of a werewolf came in 1935 with Werewolf of London. Since then, the werewolf has become a staple in horror films, literature, and even video games. From the iconic Wolfman, played by Lon Chaney Jr., to the more modern interpretations in shows like Teen Wolf and movies like The Howling, classic, werewolves continue to captivate our imaginations. Interestingly enough, the werewolf myth has found its way into modern medicine. The term lycanthropy refers to a psychological condition where a person believes they can transform into a wolf. Some cases of lycanthropy have been documented throughout history, often linked to severe mental disorders. This blurring of the line between myth and reality adds another layer of intrigue to the werewolf legend. So whether you're a believer in the supernatural or skeptic, the tales of werewolves remind us of the enduring mystery of the dark woods and the things we can't always see, the things we say we denied they exist, while at the same time looking over our shoulders as the sun starts to set on our favorite walking trail at night. Regardless of how you feel, you can't deny there are strange things we can't explain or understand. And just because we choose to not believe won't stop that feeling you get when you're alone in the moonlight. Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today on this spooky exploration of werewolves in Kentucky and across America. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts with me on social media. You can get me at Sean@ShadowNation.com and check out our site, ShadowNation.com, for over 16 years of mind-blowing spooky content. From the haunted back roads of America, this has been your Shadow Nation podcast. Don't go changing America. You know I won't, because I love you. Happy Halloween, everybody.